Welcome to another edition of EFNL Insight. It is the King's birthday weekend, and we've just got the 5 senior games to play. I'm Ryan Long, joined by Blake Tennant, back in the studios once again for another episode of EFNL Insight, and good to have you back in.
Yeah, we had a week off, probably for a reason. What happened on one of the podcasts I called, I reckon. But it's good to be here, and good to talk through a couple of games. We've got a new team in the Furnace as well, so I'll get that off my chest.
Of course, and we missed the Furnace last week, not having a show. So, would there have been some changes there?
I might go one in, one out. That's how I'll go.
Yeah, right.
I think the obvious one that's been in there for a while will be in there. But, yeah, looking forward to it. King's birthday, always a good weekend of footy. And, 5 games this year. It's a bit different compared to what it was the last couple of years. So it's good to see that it's finally drawing attraction, and there's a few good games to discuss on this show.
There is, of course, for the senior women's competition is a complete competition bye, so every senior women's side having the weekend off. For the men's, of course, you touched on the Baldwin Noble Park game, which is a tradition for the two Premier Division sides. That's being played out at Baldwin Park. More on that a bit later, because we will be down there for the Eastland match of the round.
We will be.
But the Division 3, due to scheduling and with finals, an extra round is sort of been played. Or it's not an extra round, but it's a round that's had to be played over the King's birthday weekend. Coldstream and Silver moved their game ahead in a bit of a round zero type clash, but the other 8 sides will be playing this weekend. So we will touch on that, because we won't have the weekend forecast podcast this weekend. So a little bit of a preview and our tips on that to come. But we'll start with obviously what's happened just on the weekend. And yourself, you were calling the action out at Donvale, so back in the calling chair and going quite nicely. What else have you been up to before we get into it?
During the week?
Yeah, what have you been up to?
I have my other commentary job. So I work with the NBL 1 and Kilsyth Cobras, so I call a few of their games. So I went down and watched them on the weekend, and what did I do? I was here Sunday. That was a good podcast.
Go back and listen to that.
Yeah, but just nothing much. Just working, mate. Just trying to get back my annual leave from my big trip that I went on. So I think that's about it.
Yeah, that's right. Still haven't heard all the stories from your trip to the US, but
I think there's a few off-topic ones. What do you want? Air. What do you want on air? I can talk about that.
We'll see at the end of the podcast. Before we keep going, though, we'd love the feedback and love the people tuning in and giving us their feedback. One comment we got last week: love the show, guys, but these Mo's have got to go.
No.
What do you reckon? I've probably got another week before my missus really has the sit down talk, and it's got to go.
I think mine's going to stay. I'm liking it.
Yeah. Well, I like it too. That's why I've kept mine for a little bit longer than what I planned to. But
if it gets too long, that's when I will think about it. But I think it's on a good shape at the moment. How do you think, viewers? It's all right looking at the moment. So, yeah. All
right. Well, let us know in the comment section if the Mo's stay for another week or not.
And can we do as well? Keep these comments coming, because we can refer back to these as well. And if you got any arguments or opinions that you want to say around what I have to say with a few topics, Ryan, of course, just send it through.
Furnace segment.
Yeah, we might even put like a thing on our socials or whatever. Just saying if you got any questions for Insight or something like that.
Yeah, I like it.
Because I'm sure you don't want to hear our annoying voices, so we can just, even get a few voice recordings even.
All right, voice recordings I like. We'll see if we can organise that for next week's episode. But let's jump straight into it with what we saw on the weekend in the Eastland match of the round. It was Donvale and Scoresby. It was 1v2 going into this clash in Division 3, and Donvale 17-10, 112 defeated Scoresby 14-9-93 in the battle of the two Magpies. Jordan Camilleri was fantastic for Scoresby with 34 disposals and a goal. And down either end of the ground, Ethan Duncan kicked 7 for the Magpies of Donvale, should I say, and then Adam Amin kicked 6 himself for Scoresby. So, interesting game. The margin blew out to 51 points at one stage, Blake, but Scoresby moved the magnets around a little bit in the second half and played some better footy, got it back to 19 points at the end, and almost at one stage looked like they were threatening to cause a massive comeback. But interesting game.
It felt like that, though. Like, when they were down by 27, the Scoresby faithful got up and about, and, as they should, to get their home behind their team. But I felt Donvale did all the hard work probably till half-time. Like, at half-time, I felt like. They had their forward line is been, team's Achilles heel, you would say, because they've been destroying teams a lot and just haven't got the success point of view right, even though in past, they won a premiership in 2023 and the disappointment of what happened last year, of course. But I feel like you kind of want to say a different team, but half these guys have been playing together for a long time as well.
Yeah.
So, but, I think we're going to say it off the press. Big Ethan Beefy Duncan as well.
Beefy.
Big Beefy. I got told by the team manager, I believe, so he's probably watching on saying, it was him that was saying all that nonsense as well. But, when you got Jordovic adding to the side, he just came back in. I believe that was his first game of the season. And then you got Murphy as well. He's been a club legend, you would say, as well. He's had a decorated career at the Magpies, and he was sensational. I thought Harrison Giles, he was pretty good.
Yeah, Giles was good.
Two goals, I think, as well. So they're looking pretty good, Donvale. But again, we're just going to ask that question, can they get it done on the big stage? And for Scoresby, I thought they were pretty good. Probably the second half, maybe the first half wasn't their greatest because their fullbacks got found out a bit, I reckon. But Adam Amin, just superb yet again and just doing terrific things as he's done for the last, I would say maybe 18 months or so because he's really put a stamp on the authority in Division 3 already.
Yeah, he has. And I guess the inclusions of guys like Camilleri and who was absolutely fantastic for them, probably their best player. Matt Trainer, who's come across from Roval. It's added a bit more experience to the lineup and given them a little bit extra. Very similar to what we saw with Surrey Park when they went to Division 3. And we were at that game during the season where they lost by 70-something points. I know a lot of injuries in that game. They lost by 60, 70 points to Donvale.
I think I would like to see Donvale on a bigger ground. And when they play Scoresby, because Scoresby is a big ground, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. But it was interesting after the game, Ryan, as well, and we'll get the vision as well up here if we can. But I feel like both teams were in a huddle.
Yeah.
Usually, you shake hands and then you're off the ground. But, both teams were in huddles and... I think Donvale would be pretty disappointed with how they finished because, if you follow the league a bit and see what happened with Donvale.
Well, that was sort of the messaging coming out from Ethan. We obviously spoke to Ethan Duncan after the game, and that's sort of what he was alluding to, that they weren't too happy with the way they finished off the game and sort of went away with, a lot of the things that were working really well in the first half. But, at the end of the day, they'll take a 19-point win. They'll take another 4 points. It's very hard for them to. It's very hard to not see them finishing on top this year again, just with the way they're going. And I know that's still a long way to go, and they're only a game clear of Scoresby. So it's obviously it could swing back the other way when they play each other in round 17 later on in the year, but. I think they're still the benchmark of this division, and no Rouser, no Haig. Scoresby had some outs as well and some players under the weather. So I think both sides take a lot out of it. Yeah.
But, Donvale's got Knox this week, a big test as well. So that's going to be a big one. And we'll touch on that a bit later on, of course. But, I think, Donvale doing a lot of good things. Maybe Scoresby, it's a hard one to tell. It's almost like I wouldn't say that word of reality. I think they just got outplayed in one half of footy. Second half, I thought they were pretty good. So, Scoresby were pretty happy, but also maybe disappointed on maybe the way they started the game because Donvale were controlling that in the first half.
Yeah, I agree. I think at the end of the day, both take away some positives and also a lot of things that both sides can work on going forward. But very interesting to see both sides match up. And again, we'll keep going back and maybe that comparison with Surrey Park, who have sort of set up the formula for those sides coming through from Division 4 and making their way up, and how strong their under-19s are and their depth at the club, and that's been shown. And Surrey Park are now sitting third in Division 2, which is really super impressive for a side that was in Division 4 2 years ago. Scoresby trying to follow that same pathway, which it's not. It's always it's easier said than done. But they'll be in the mix this year. So
they will be. I think third division. there isn't really, like, obviously Donvale was the front runner and all that, but, I haven't really, it's not really, like, I feel like it's a 3-horse race. That's how I feel with third division, unfortunately. And I feel like whoever wins that 4th v 5th, I feel like could be a blowout sort of thing in that
The only thing that that's the way I sort of thought it was too.
Yeah.
But the way with Upper Ferntree Gully, the way they're going at the moment, they play Knox next week after the actually they play Scoresby this week and then Knox.
So that'll be a test for them.
You could very easily make a case for them winning 1, maybe 2 of those games, just on pure form. I know they didn't get overly close to Donvale a couple of weeks ago, but a lot of sides aren't.
Who have they beaten though, Ryan? That's the real question. Like, who have they actually? They beat up Coldstream on the weekend. Lost to Donvale, as we mentioned before. They beat Oakley District, but they haven't really been performing well. Beat Sylvan. That's a solid win there, but I feel like they haven't actually got anyone above them yet.
That's fair because they haven't been either. They lost to Knox in round 1.
Yeah.
They've lost to Donvale quite comfortably. These next 2 weeks is a good chance to prove that they can take a big scalp.
Yeah,
but they are. They're pumping some of these sides. They pumped Coldstream again on the weekend. They've pumped Sylvan, Oakley District. So they're putting it all together, and they've got a lot of players who are in spectacular form. Travis Strange, Harvey Meyer had 48 disposals on the weekend. Wilson kicked 6 and probably had 25 disposals. So they're going along really nicely. Two weeks here, a patch of 2 games against 2 high contenders. That's your opportunity to get a scalp.
Definitely. Yeah, I feel that way too. But, the next 2 weeks, I reckon we'll show if we can trust Upper Gully. I think that's what we're going to start doing and all of that. So, they're doing okay. They're better than what they were last year.
Yep.
But there's improvement there. But, again, if you want to be there in that last weekend of Division 3 Grand Final footy, you're going to knock off these teams above you.
Yep.
So.
Any other talking points from the competition across the weekend? Bayswater impressive.
Yeah.
Croydon North Emlock and Div 4 were competitive against Churnside.
I was pretty happy, I think, with both sides, especially with Churnside having a few key outs. I think they made about 10 changes to their side from last week, because we were obviously down there, of course. I think that leads us in, doesn't it, to win of the week, doesn't it?
Well, win of the week. Where are you headed towards this? I'll let you go first.
I know you'll probably go the hot off the press one, which is in Division 1, but I'm going to go Division 2, Surrey Park beating Waverley Blues, and I think that's a big one. And if you're looking at the play-by-play sort of scenario, I think Waverley, I think they might have had a 14-point lead in that. If I look at my notes here. Yeah, they were up by 14 points, Waverley, and I think Surrey Park just kicked 3 on the trot to even it out, and good come behind win, and a familiar face down at Surrey Park compared this win as the 2023 Grand Final. I don't think we can mention that name anymore because he's left us, but that's a good win by Surrey, big win, and can we trust them? It's starting to look like that. Yeah,
I think that's a fair one, considering the margin they had to come back from to pinch that from Waverley at Central Reserve, and Waverley have a pretty decent record at home. As you probably predicted, I have gone with Bayswater as my win of the week.
That was a massive win. Truly, didn't Jared say they won't kick a goal or something like that?
Good point. Let's throw back to that. Jared at the pre-game on Saturday afternoon saying that Bayswater won't kick a goal.
There's a chance, a non-zero chance that Beaconsfield could hold Bayswater goalless this weekend. Honestly, I think that's speaking more perhaps about Beaconsfield than about Bayswater.
That was Jared. Hopefully he's watching on at home and has a good laugh for himself for that one. I thought that was a bit harsh to say they won't kick a goal.
What I would gather is maybe he's gone with the behinds theory.
What's the behinds theory?
Well, you could kick 9 behinds or something like that. I think that's maybe.
I think
that's the theory he might have gone through.
I think everyone expected Beaconsfield to win. I don't know if people thought Bayswater wouldn't kick a goal, but we were lucky enough to speak to Luke, the senior coach, on Sunday on the podcast, and just going through some of those outs, obviously they haven't had Ben White all year.
Yep.
He's been out since round 1. Ben Searle, both Joel and Bryce Galvin.
I think, who's the other one? That's midfielder, small forward.
Kiddo's out of the side.
Keep listening if you can. There was another one that was a big out. I forgot his name. Keep talking. I'll try and find his name.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Kruger.
Yeah,
that's the other one. Yeah, Kruger. That's another one as well. So, that's probably, I reckon, that's their best win since their grand final in 2016.
Yeah, I can't remember just in the last few years as good of a win.
I mean, they beat Montrose at Bayswater.
Yeah.
I think Kurt Lopo kicked the winner of...
Was that a milestone game for one that...
Yeah, might have been. But that was a close one. That was the first game after COVID hit. So I think that will be the closest to it.
Just in terms of, like, personnel and how many of their quality players are out, and they're playing a Beaconsfield side who's...
who don't lose at home, really, often too.
Yeah, rarely lose at home. Yeah. Hadn't lost at home this season. I mean, it's one you never would have seen coming. And
also, just the thing about it is, can you imagine the Bayswater coaches and playing group when Beaconsfield kicked that goal? I think there was on the 23rd minute mark. Can you imagine how nervous they would have been?
Yeah.
But to hang on like they did, that's a massive win for Bayswater because, obviously a young side. I think they've only won maybe the one game as well, and this is their second win, of course. It's just a big win for Bayswater, and I believe they would have. I believe, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but I will say they had a club function that night, so I'm sure they would have been partying at Bayswater Oval for a couple of hours in the early hours, I presume.
Yeah, probably a big night for them. That was a fantastic win and a good one to take into the bye now and potentially can build some momentum.
They've got Montrose after the bye because I think we restart, don't we?
I think we've got one more.
Sorry, yes.
So they'll play Montrose in a couple of weeks. Off the top of my head, who haven't they played? North Ringwood.
North Ringwood.
At Quamby?
Yeah, Quamby.
Yeah, so a bit of a challenge for them, but that was a massive challenge to play Beaconsfield at home park. So hopefully for their sake, that's a confidence booster and something they can take forward.
None of you guys predicted him as your roughie of the week? No,
I don't know who I tipped, but it wasn't certainly wasn't Bayswater.
There you go. So that's a big win for Bayswater.
Big result. All right, so win of the week's the positives. Yeah. Now to the negatives, because you love talking about the negatives and you love criticising sides and you've got a couple of teams in your side. I'm not too sure. I haven't spoken to you about this, so I don't know where you're headed. Who's in the furnace right now? Explain the furnace again for first-time listeners.
First-time listening is teams that are under the pump and underperforming, which I think should be performing at their highest abilities and all that. So there's a few sides in there. I might go with one in, one out sort of thing. So currently from 2 weeks ago, so from the Insight edition that we had 2 weeks ago, I had Heathmont in there, South Croydon were in there, I think Mitcham were in there.
You had half the competition in just
about. Coldstream, 4 out of 40 something teams. Come on, man.
And you had 2 on the fence that you were thinking about.
Yep. So I was going to put Mooroolbark in there. I think they might. I'll give them another week. I'll give Mooroolbark another week. But a team that's going in there. So South Croydon, they will be tiptoeing out. So they're officially.
They've won 2 in a row. There's no need for them in there.
So they're in there, but it's a hard one for me to say at the moment. But I'm going to put Montrose in there. I'm really sorry, but really underperforming, unfortunately, by a few means. To lose to North Ringwood side. No offense, coming into the game, you put, if you're a wager man, or I know we don't promote it or anything, you would say Montrose. Man. If Montrose were, they were favourites, and I felt like Montrose just played like it was going to happen, and apparently it did happen to North Ringwood's way, and just a few results. They haven't actually, unfortunately, got anyone above them just yet, which has been really concerning as well with, a few players that are very young. But unfortunately, I'm going to put Montrose in there. It's it's a hard one to tell because have a few connections down there and
a few. You've probably got more than a few, but I think it's fair because of what you had to say about Mooroolbark and Boronia 2 weeks ago. So I agree. If you're going to put the onus on them, that works the same way. So I think that's fair on your logic off the way you've been basing it.
So they've got South Belgrave next week, and that's going to be a challenge. I'll tell you that. And then after that, they've got Bayswater, which hasn't been a happy ground for Montrose, just in past results and how that's gone. So it might be a 2 week progress, I reckon.
So what have they got to do to get out?
I think they've just got to try. It's a hard one, just the way South Belgrave's going. If they beat South Belgrave, then I'll kick them out of there. But you don't want to lose both of these games, don't you? Against South Belgrave and Bayswater. So maybe one win, but again, like they could lose to South Belgrave and then beat Bayswater. Still haven't got anyone yet. So the next challenge will be Park Orchards at Domini Reserve. So it's a hard one to predict at the moment. They're just not playing well to the standard, I don't think. So Heathmont stays in there though.
So they've won
back-to-back games, correct? But
I think you said earlier on in the year you wanted them to win 3 in a row to
so they've
3 out of 4.
I want them to. So looking at their fixture as well, they're still in their Heathmont. So they've got Waverley Blues and Templestowe, I think, in the next 2 weeks. So there you go. So if they can get one win, I think we can trust them, can't we?
Yeah, if obviously Templestowe are going along magnificently at the moment, and Waverley are still performing pretty well. So if they win one of those two, I'd say you'd take them out of there.
Yeah. So Coldstream, they're still staying in there. Just disappointing all round this year, considering they made a semi-final last year. I know they lost a few outs, but this comes down to your depth. I feel like
which has been an issue.
Which has been an issue with a lot of personnel in and out of the side. But they're in. I think they're in. Can I use that word? Relegation talks, really.
Well, I mean, someone's got to get relegated from that division, and at the moment, probably them and Fair Park are a step behind the rest of the competition. Oakley have strung together a couple of wins lately, so I think that's...
Well, they've got Coldstream. Sorry, Coldstream's got Fair Park next week.
Yeah, so loser of that game suddenly feels the pressure going forward.
Fair Park, for me, we kind of knew where they're sort of heading, unfortunately. Same with, Forest Hill, Nord.
Correct, so you're not going to put...
Definitely not. No, we know where they're heading. So it's not going to be...
They're at different stages with their list.
I'm not going to put them in. I think that's... I feel like I've been way too harsh if I do that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because they're going through a lot of pain at the moment. So, so Montrose, Heathmont, they're in there. Coldstream. So there you go, 3 sides.
Okay, the 3 teams. You've narrowed it down to 3, so we'll see how that all plays out next time.
You're happy, aren't you? You were about to. If I didn't put them in there, I reckon you would have created your own furnace.
Maybe. I just think, based off the argument you had on Mooroolbark and Boronia as well, I just thought if you're going to stick by that logic, Montrose would have to be in there. I would say either you... Yeah, otherwise, I mean, you could have them not in, but then I'd also say then your argument last week or 2 weeks ago against Mooroolbark would have been...
I think, I'm telling you, round 12, if this isn't a radio game, something's wrong there. I think I promoted this game, Montrose Boronia.
Why is that?
I promoted this game to be a radio game, and I hope it does because it deserves it. I think 2 sides will be... my opinion, I'm saying this right now and people can come back to me, they'll be a Sunday elimination final in Div 1.
You think those 2 will finish 4th and 5th?
Yep, they'll be the Sunday Division 1 elimination final. You can come back and say I'm wrong, that's fine, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll certainly know a lot more in the next month and a bit, but both sides have a week off now anyway, so we'll see how that all plays out.
Yep.
All right, let's move our attention to this weekend. Of course, the 5 games to be played from the Premier Division and Division 3 standalone Premier Division game. It's the annual traditional clash between Bourne and Noble Park. It is also the Eastland Match of the Round, so you can catch that live on Radio Eastern 98.1 FM.
How many years has that been now? That's had to be quite a few now, surely.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. Every year since we've been doing this, as part of the media team, it's been
Would you say maybe 10 years?
I'd say so. It's probably longer. I'm honestly not too sure.
Might have to ask the Oracle about that one.
Yeah, the Oracle. Well, I can give you some head-to-head stats.
Yeah.
They've played a total of 38 times, and Bourne have won 24. Noble Park have won 14.
Jeez.
But both, and you look at, I think if you go back in time, and even just in recent years, a lot of the times the visitors come to... the visitors win out in the King's Birthday weekend. So we've seen that multiple times before. Noble Park beat a very good Bourne side a couple of years ago out at Bourne Park.
Yeah.
Bourne got a hold of Noble last season. Probably the first time where we really look at a big difference between the two sides in terms of where they're headed, their lists. We don't need to go ahead into too much detail about Noble Park and what the changes they've had over this season, and it's almost a bit of a mini rebuild with the quality of players that exited the side last season. And for Bourne, reigning premiers, they've got a list, a stacked list who have just started to find some form after losing the first couple of games of the season. They're a bit slow out of the blocks, but have now won 4 in a row and have just eased themselves into the season. And potential that this could be their first game they really get a hold of a side and put them away.
Yeah, it feels that way, doesn't it? Having a look at Noble Park's team, there isn't any clear standout player. Like, I think Sam Gilbert, he's probably the one that stands out the most.
Sam Gilbert, because come into the lineup. And
like, if you look at past, obviously you had your Martins, your Sketchers, your Horton Mills, and all that. But now it's a completely different Noble Park team. And, it could be ugly, unfortunately. But it's meant to be raining on Saturday too. So that could go...
I'd say Lachlan McDonald's been very good for them this season. He's had a really impressive year. Rain certainly won't hurt them, I don't think.
I feel like with the rain it'll be closer scoring. So I don't think this might not be a blowout, considering with the rain coming. I feel like it might be a 30-point win to Bourne.
Yeah.
Who's your tip?
Oh, I think I'm tipping Bourne, and I think that it's hard to go past them. And they're not scoring, quite heavily at the moment, and they didn't really last year. They were a very defensive side, and that was a big strength, and we saw that in the final series as well. So they're not, not blowing sides necessarily out of the scoreboard. And then Noble Park, I still worry about their issues on scoring because you just go back to 2 weeks ago in that game against Vermont where they. For 3 quarters they were held goalless.
Struggled to kick a goal, yeah.
Yeah, so, where's their winning score coming from? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, that's the thing,
and that's been, quite an issue for them. And, potentially, I think, obviously there's...
So you don't think the rain will affect this blowout by Bourne then?
It might make it a little bit closer. I think you're right in that. 30 points could be the margin. I think they might win by a little bit more, but...
Okay.
In saying that, I don't think there will be necessarily much difference with the rain.
Yep.
But for me, I struggle to see where Noble Park win this game. Bourne just doing enough at the moment. Division 3, of course, the 4 games. Coulter and Sylvan have the bye. But the rest of the competition, the big one is Knox versus Donvale at Knox Gardens Reserve. It is 1v3 at the moment on the Division 3 ladder. Knox have had some injuries and they aren't travelling, spectacularly at the moment, but they're still winning, which is important for them. They're still getting the 4 points. Donvale, on the other hand, they too have had a couple of outs, but they are in just...
I don't know if you asked this question on pre-game last week, but did you find out about Rouser and Haig on where they're at, or is Rouser going to miss some weeks, or is he back this week? Did you ask him that question, or?
Not too sure if we got a timeline on when both of them will be back.
Because they're going to be 2 massive ins when that that happens because we know how good James Mouse has been. Haig's probably the best ruckman in the competition in third division, you would say. But yeah, it's going to be interesting when they come back.
Yeah, I agree. And at the moment, even with some of those players out, it's one in, one out. Nathan Ablett comes inside, was really solid for them.
Thought Max Oldham was terrific too.
Max Oldham back in the team.
How did he go? I didn't check my Premier data, unfortunately.
I can get that up for you.
Under the bus there, but yeah, it should be a big crowd down at Knox Gardens Reserve. I don't think they've really had much of a big game sort of thing in how Knox have gone, especially coming down to third division, so it'll be a big crowd down at Knox Gardens.
Got your Max Oldham stats. He had 19 disposals and 8 marks on the weekend.
That can't be right.
What, do you think it was more?
I think he had more.
Yeah, well, he had 17 kicks, so that's probably why it stands out. 17 of his 19 disposals kicks, so that's probably why it stands out quite a bit.
I reckon he had 8 disposals in the first quarter.
In the first quarter?
Yeah.
You know what, I'll have a look. He had 13 in the first quarter. So he probably hasn't actually had much of it after quarter time, but
yeah, I thought he was a massive inclusion though.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he definitely was. He was super important.
But if you have to do a tip, I'm going to go Donvale by 16 points.
Yeah, I have to. At this, that's my rule. I don't tip against Donvale. You just don't. And at the moment,
Sylvan says otherwise, though.
Unless they're playing at Sylvan Recreation Reserve, that's the one rule in that. But how do you stop that forward line? And with the way Duncan is going, he's in seriously red hot form. He's kicked quite a bit this year. I think it's almost now 40 goals. He's kicked 7 or more on 4 occasions. And then you got Nick Murphy, who is still playing really, really good, but is almost second fiddle to Duncan, just with the way Ethan's been playing at the moment. And then the small forwards and Giles and Jordovic and the Touts have been quite good this year, particularly on the weekend. They all got involved and hit the scoreboard too. So for me, it's how do you stop that attacking lineup?
It's definitely a hard one to do, unfortunately, and they'll be keeping their hands full. Where will be playing? I reckon he might get the job on Duncan. Tommy Ware.
Tommy Weir.
Tommy Weir.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think he probably is a good option for that. Greaves, I don't know. It's a tough ask. There's quite a few players to stop down there. So we'll see how that all plays out on Saturday. That game out at Knox Gardens Reserve might be a decent crowd out there for two really good solid sides. The whole top 4 play each other, which makes this round quite exciting. Scoresby face Upper Ferntree Gully at home out at Scoresby Recreation Reserve, and again we saw Scoresby firsthand, and there was a lot that we did like. They were a bit slow at obviously to get out of the blocks in the particularly in the second quarter where they let Donvale jump them, but they'll learn from that. Back at home, haven't lost a game at home all season, and they play against Upper Ferntree Gully, who we mentioned earlier in the show. This is their test. This is the one they want. They want a scalp. Yep. They've been thumping the sides below them. Do you give them a chance now to? No, straight up.
Straight up, no. I think Scoresby win this by, I'd say about 20 to 25 points, I reckon. I can't trust Upper Ferntree Gully. To be honest, I don't know if it's luck or all that by how they're winning, but I might be a bit harsh.
They're pumping sides by 70 points.
Yeah, but against the teams that are below them, though.
Yeah, I don't think that's luck.
I think Ferntree Gully will overtake them.
Well, Ferntree Gully pumped them in round 2. That's probably their only poor game of the season. They lost to Donvale by about 40 or so points, and then they lost to Knox by 20 in round 1.
Yep.
Take away that Ferntree Gully result, I think they've been pretty consistent across the season. So I'm a little bit more positive on their chances. I'm still tipping Scoresby. Yeah. Scoresby at home.
Scoresby's for me as well.
They're going along very nicely, and I don't think they're going to be too disappointed with their performance against Donvale. But I could see you could where the case is for Upper Ferntree Gully, and they've got to take one eventually, one of those scalps if they are going to be a serious contender.
Definitely.
And they might just clip up what you said about their performances being just luck. We'll see how they respond to that one. But also this weekend, Oakley District face the Basin out at Princess Highway Reserve. Tough one to tip because
I'm going Oakley.
I don't necessarily trust either side in tipping sense, because I've tipped both these sides at certain occasions, and they haven't got close. And then on other times, I've chose to ignore them, and they pull off wins. So
Oakley District for me,
because it is at Princess Highway Reserve.
Yep.
I just had a look.
Bit of a travel as well for the Basin too, by the way.
Yeah, decent trip down to Princess Highway, but I just had a look at the tips through the record of the media team, and actually more people have gone the Basin this week.
Fair enough.
And
can you update? Can you give me an update too, by the way, on this tipping comp?
I think I'm doing. We'll do this after we do the final two games in Division 3. We'll go through the whole tipping comp.
Oakley District for me.
Yep. I think they're. I'm going the Basin.
Fair enough.
The final game to have a look at, it is Ferntree Gully taking on Fair Park, and it's a big one for an important reason. For Josh Allison in his 300th game in the EFNL, and obviously a legend across multiple clubs. He's played at South Croydon most famously, Baronia, East Ringwood, and now the playing coach out at Fair Park. And it was at one stage, I think at the start of the season, it was that he wasn't going to be playing; he was just going to be coaching. But he was 4 or 5 games short of the ultimate 300th game, and becoming a life member. And I think people probably maybe don't even realise he was part of that 2017 premiership against South Croydon. For South Croydon against Vermont.
Yeah, that was. You could talk about that day for years on end with South Croydon winning that premiership, and he was a key part of South Croydon's team as well. So 300 games, it's never easy. I think I can play. I can't remember how many games I played. Not many, but
you cannot bring yourself into this.
To play 300 games at a really good sustainable level, like some of those clubs that you listed. Playing at South Croydon,
Premier competition,
playing at East Ringwood as well, Baronia, second or third division, but still, you're playing good footy still there as well. So
some milestones, teams get up for it. They almost Bayswater almost got up for Gelvin early in the year. Can they do it against a Ferntree Gully side who has been
pretty vulnerable?
Yeah, they are, because you look at their performances, and again, Stevenson kicks 7 goals and has 28 touches, and they lose by 40 points. Yeah,
it's a hard one to predict, but I'm going to go the Gully this week. Even though milestones games, they seem to get a lot of emotion up for it. But I'm going the Gully this week. But I think it'll be close right through, and especially with this rain around, and especially with Ferntree Gully, I don't know if they are or not, if they're playing on their back oval.
Yeah, they are playing on Wally 2-2.
To Wally 2-2.
Yep.
I think for me, Ferntree Gully.
Yeah, I'm still tipping Ferntree Gully. And if they slipped up here, they'd really start to fall behind in terms of the ladder, because at the moment they're 2 games behind Sylvan. Sylvan have played the extra game. They're 1 game behind the Basin, who are in 6th and are a chance this weekend to win. So a loss here would put them in a pretty vulnerable spot going into the second half of the year, as you put it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be a great contest, especially in a big crowd down there, I hope, down at Wally 2 Reserve. And
Fair Park will get down, obviously, to support Josh. Yeah. And a lot of his former teammates who aren't playing on the weekend, I'm sure, will be down there as well. So that they might get a very big crowd out there at Wally 2.
Yeah, definitely. And especially with Jane and Stevenson.
And Steve-O, always...
Steve-O Cam might be out. But it should be a good game, right? So,
yeah, he did.
It's just the sides aren't performing as much as they like, but you feel like it doesn't matter where they're at the moment, it's still going to be a cracking game of football as well.
Yeah, that's right. So that's our preview done. Obviously, no podcast this week, so we'll leave that part obviously out of it with no weekend forecast, no weekend recovery as well. Sometimes we do get the messages.
Finally, get a sleep in.
Yes, I'll give you. Well, yes, you might be away for the weekend, so you're all right. No podcast on Sunday.
Back again on Tuesday.
Yes, yeah. We'll obviously do everything else during the week.
How's this tipping comp going? I want to hear, because I think I got 16 out of 22 last week.
All right, well, just give me a second to get this up on my screen.
But that's fine. But
this can be found in the record.
Can I just ask you, just quickly, before you get it up, what game are you most looking forward to this weekend?
Well, I'll be out at Baldwin, so I guess there's
You gotta say that because we're at Baldwin, or
well, I'm not going to be there at the other game, so I guess I'm very intrigued by. Originally, it was Knox Donvale, but I'm actually quite interested in this Scoresby Upper Ferntree Gully game now.
Okay.
I just think there's
You don't mind your Scoresby folks as well?
Oh, I played my juniors at Scoresby. Had a good time there.
Got a few alliances down there, do you?
A few what?
Alliances down there?
Oh, this isn't Survivor, mate. No. So, I've enjoyed what Upper Ferntree Gully have put out this season.
Yeah.
You haven't.
No, I just haven't. Unfortunately not. But, so hopefully they can prove me wrong. Because I know my ladder predictor was in their rooms last year.
Was it at Upper Gully?
Yeah.
Oh, it was too. I do remember hearing this.
Yeah. So I wonder if they can put this on their whiteboard before the game.
Is that? I don't know if they have a sort of a pre-game video before they run out on Saturday and have your face up on the screen saying that it's just luck that they've got into the position they're in at the moment.
Maybe just another coach that doesn't want to talk to me.
You do put your foot in your mouth sometimes.
Yeah, but I can also back it up at the same time.
All right, well, we'll see up at Gully. We'll see if it's their chance to back it up on the weekend. All right, the tips for the senior men's competition. Where do we want to go from the bottom up?
Yeah, go for the bottom.
This is the overall total at the bottom, our man Ray Baird.
Oh, the
Razor, who's had a very slow start. He's on 118.
There you go.
But he's been building the last few weeks. He's been telling me he's doing very well. Yeah, doing very well in Division 2. But he's still a fair way behind. Scott Hardy with 121.
Okay.
He had 18 last week. He actually had a fantastic week. That was his best week and was tied in the most. So he's climbing up the ranks. In 7th place is Chris Cordis with 122.
There you go.
He had 17 last week again, so it has evened up a little bit. In 6th place is yourself on 123.
Okay.
And you had one more. You had 17 last week, so you had a very good week last weekend. But again, you were probably in similar boat to some others. Slow start, but your last 2 to 3 weeks has really picked up.
Definitely, yep.
Tied on 124 is Paul Uconi and Kate Green. They've both had good weeks last week as well, 17 and 18. So they've moved to 124, one ahead of you. In 3rd place is the great Matt Spider Lee on 126.
There you go.
Another episode of Spider's Web dropping soon.
Yep.
He's had the 16 last week, so dropped off a little bit, but still in a good spot. And tied on 127, it is myself and Wayne Brasher.
I'm
both
sorry,
on 127.
but this needs to be checked. This needs to be checked, I'm sorry.
You think I'd cheat for this?
No, I reckon you buddy text these clubs and say, can you get up for me?
Well, they wouldn't listen to me if I did do that, but you can go through the record. You can go through each week if you don't believe me. And I had 16 last week, so my lead.
Do we get an award if we get? Is there a leader? Does someone get?
Is there an award?
Yeah.
If I win, probably we'll probably do something.
Of course.
Anyway. I would say we did say we would do something at the start of the season.
Yeah.
And now that I'm in front halfway through, I'm pretty keen on doing something.
You just want to try and what's a bonus round or whatever?
Well, why don't we all put in $50 at this stage?
Maybe. We'll see how we go.
We'll see after next week.
Well, are we going to do an insight next week? Or?
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah.
Maybe do a bit of a mid-season theme insight.
Yeah.
Open the floor up to the listeners.
Yeah. So we'll put up on our stories or whatever.
Yep.
How do you feel like doing it? Do you feel like a mid-season report card?
Mid-season report card, I like that for the senior men's competition.
Yeah.
Yep.
We can do a mid-season report card.
Yep.
And then I think we can do like maybe a biggest slider and a biggest riser maybe.
Okay. And then
there isn't many though.
Open up the floor to any listeners. If you've got questions at the moment, drop them in the comment section on YouTube, and we'll go through them. Yeah,
definitely. Just keep comment. All right, we want to hear your verdicts and all that. So, but yeah, we're gonna have a mid-season review, I reckon. So we might just go. I don't know if we want to go through every side. How about we just pick a few sides?
Yeah, we can do a report card and we can touch on some sides more than others and show that to.
So we might give the Furnace a week off. And
unless something drastic happens on this weekend that you feel like one of these 10 sides who are playing deserve to be in there, then we'll give it a rest.
Yeah, I think the Furnace will have a week off. We just read the results and all that, so we might just do the mid-season. How we think these sides are tracking. And,
of course.
Yeah, but anyway.
And feedback on the Mo's too.
Oh yeah.
I need some positive feedback to argue to keep it at home.
Yeah.
Miss is not overly happy with it.
No. But it's been good. Pleasure to talk things footy with you, Ryan.
Thank you for coming in, of course. There was another good weekend of footy last weekend. Hopefully it all lives up to expectations this weekend, and hopefully you enjoy your trip if you go away, or the Tigers play on Saturday, Richmond.
I think I might be heading there.
Yeah, that's a good one. I thought you might. We were stiff last week, weren't we, the GWS game?
We might be a chance this week, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, it would be a nice little win there. But for everyone tuning in, thanks again for your time this afternoon. Enjoy the footy this weekend. Have a fantastic long weekend, and we'll see you next time.